Okay, here are a couple examples about triangle centers. The first one is identifying the circumcenter on a graph. And so we'll start by graphing our points. And so the points are 6, -2. And so 6 over -2 down, 6 over 5 up. And so that's here. And then 2 over -2 down, which is here. Now, whenever you're trying to find the circumcenter of a triangle, you need to remember what makes something a circumcenter. So there's two parts to it. The first is it is the center of the circumscribed circle, which means the circle through those 3 points. But then it's also the intersection of the perpendicular bisectors of the sides of a triangle. Well, for this problem, that's actually a very easy way to view it because two of the sides are horizontal and vertical lines. And so AC is a horizontal line. And so a line that's perpendicular to horizontal is vertical. And so we need to find the perpendicular bisector of AC. So we need to find the midpoint. So the midpoint of AC is just 2 plus 6 over 2 and -2 plus -2 over 2, which turns out to give you 4, -2. And the perpendicular bisector is going to be a vertical line through there. And so remember, a vertical line is always x equals whatever the x coordinate is for all those points, which in this case is 4. Same thing for AC, AB. We find the midpoint of AB, which gives us 6 plus 6 over 2 and 5 plus -2 over 2, which turns out to be just 6, 3 halves, which is the point right here. And then remember, whenever you do a horizontal line that's perpendicular to vertical, it's always the y coordinate the same. And so we just take the y equals 3 halves and we draw it in. It looks like this. And so we want to find where do those two perpendicular bisectors intersect each other. Well, in this case, it's really easy because they're horizontal and vertical. This line has to have x coordinates of 2 or 4 because the x is 4. And then this has to have a y coordinate of 3 halves because the y coordinate is 3 halves. And so it's just going to be 4, 3 halves is the centroid or is the circumcenter of this triangle. Because this is a right triangle, it actually turns out to be the midpoint of the hypotenuse. If you calculated the midpoint of the hypotenuse, you'd get 4, 3 halves. And that will always be the case. It's always going to be the midpoint of the hypotenuse if it's a right triangle. Okay, for a little bit harder one, we've got 2 over 1 up, and then 8 over 7 up, and then 12 over 5 up. And so here's our triangle, and we want to find the circumcenter. So we need to find perpendicular bisectors. So we'll just start by doing AB. And so to find the perpendicular bisector of AB, you do the midpoint of AB, which is 2 plus 8 over 2, 1 plus 7 over 2, which turns out to be 5, 4. So that's the midpoint of AB, which my drawing looks really nice. Now I need the slope of AB as well because I'm going to take the negative reciprocal to find the slope of the line that I'm finding. So I do the slope of AB, and that's going to give me 7 minus 1 over 8 minus 2, which turns out to be 1. Well, the negative reciprocal of 1, the reciprocal of 1 is 1. The negative means you change it from a positive to a negative. And so we're going to have a slope of -1. So our equation just turns out to be 4 equals the slope, -1 times the x, 5, plus b. Add 5 to both sides and you get b is 9. So the equation for this line is y equals -x plus 9. We can do BC as well. And so if we do BC, our midpoint of BC, I like to label them so I know remember what I've done. So the midpoint of BC is just going to be 8 plus 12 divided by 2 and 7 plus 5 divided by 2, which equals 10, 6. And then again, I need to find the slope of BC because mine is going to be perpendicular through the midpoint. So I need to find BC to find the perpendicular slope. So the slope of BC turns out to be 7 minus 5 over 8 minus 12, which gives you 2 over negative 4, or negative 1/2. The point I'm going to choose, again, is the midpoint. You could also use, well, it has to be the midpoint, actually. So you're going to say 6 equals negative 1/2 times 10 plus b. Negative 1/2 of 10 is 5, and so that's going to give me 11. So 11 equals b, so y equals negative 1/2 x plus 11. Oh, it's not going to be negative 1/2. That's a common mistake that we make. It should be, the negative 1/2 is the slope of BC, but we want to find out that the perpendicular slope is a negative reciprocal, so we need a slope of 2. And so then that's going to calculate b a little differently. And so 6, the y-coordinate is equal to the slope x plus the x-coordinate 10 plus b. And so b turns out to give you negative 14. And so you get y equals 2x minus 14. Okay, so looking at these two equations, we want to find out where do these two lines meet each other, because that point is going to be the circumcenter. So we put in, the easiest way to do it is take this and substitute it in for this y. So negative x plus 9 equals 2x minus 14. And so it's going to give me 23 equals 3x. And so x equals 23 over 3. And so that's our x-coordinate. And once we have the x-coordinate, we can just find the y-coordinate by substituting it in for x. And so you're going to say y equals, and so we'll put it into this one, negative 23 over 3 plus 9. And so when you add those together, you just get 4/3, because 9 is 27 over 3. So negative 23 over 3 plus 9 equals 4/3. And so the that is the y-coordinate when the x-coordinate is 23/3. And so the coordinates of the circumcenter are 23/3, comma 4/3. All right, we can do the same thing, but with the centroid. And there's two ways to do this one. One is to just go through and find two medians. We already found the midpoint, so it wouldn't be too hard to do. But there's actually an easier way, and it is to average the x-coordinates and average the y-coordinates. So the answer to this would be 2 plus 8 plus 12 over 3, comma, 1 plus 7 plus 5 over 3. And so this is going to give you 22/3 and 13/3. And so we've done something wrong here. Oh, no, that's the centroid. And so the correct answer is the centroid is 22/3, comma, 13/3. It's different than the 23/3, 11/3. They're close together, but they're not exactly the same that the circumcenter was. All right, finally, a problem like this, we remember what the centroid theorem was. We know this is a centroid because D, E, and F are midpoints. So that tells us that we've got a centroid. And we had a theorem in the centroid that said the distance from the centroid to a midpoint is half the distance from the centroid to a vertex, or vice versa. Center of vertex to centroid is twice the distance from the centroid to the midpoint. So if we plug what things in, we know GF is 8, so this length is 8. BG is 2x plus 3y. CG is 4x plus y. And then CD, this whole thing, is 33. All right, so applying what we learned in our theorem, remember the shorter one is half of the longer one. So I can set up an equation using these two, which would be 2x plus 3y equals, well, it would be equal to 16. because BG is twice GF. GF is 8, so multiply 8 times 2, you get 16. Same thing here. If this whole length DG is 33, well, the length from C to G is 2/3 33, and so 2/3 33 is 22, so that means I can get 4x plus y equals 22. Multiply through by -2, that gives me -4x minus 6y equals -32, which gives you -5y equals -10, or y equals 2. And then if y is going to equal 2, then we substitute that back in up here, and we get 4x plus 2 equals 22. So 4x equals 20, or x equals 5. So the correct answer to this problem is x equals 5 and y equals 2.